So I just feel that the internet has done a lot of good for RPGs, and it allows. I mean, there are negatives, but generally speaking, it's an access to knowledge and then an access to people that is literally unprecedented, and I think that should be celebrated, in my opinion. You know.
Absolutely.
In the distant future, vampires rule the night, but their numbers are dwindling. One podcast is unlike all the others. Half human, half vampire. This is Lefty Speaks, the official podcast for Vampire Hunter D.
But Neal wanted me to talk about Shotgun Diaries. So
I've never heard of this.
So it's a zombie survival role-playing game. Wow. But it's very simple. It's super simple. I had a friend who was a big zombie survival fan, and I made a game that essentially was the kind of game that he wanted to play. And the way it works is you pick a survivor type, and then because there's different archetypes in zombie survival literature, right? So you pick a type, and then you get to roll dice for your type, and that's it. So if you are the soccer mom, it means you can cook, you can clean, you can plant gardens, you can make food, you can all that kind of stuff.
First aid.
First aid, really important. But if you need to shoot zombies, that's going to be really hard for you.
You can run them over with the minivan, right?
Yeah. You can run people over with the minivan. Totally good.
Totally soccer mom.
Total soccer mom. But when you do anything that isn't your archetype, you roll 0 dice. Wow. The GM says what happens next, which generally means the zombies get you. So what you need is a group who can all roll dice for all of the circumstances that you could fall into. And you got to stay together. So if the group runs into a problem, then the tech expert can go, yes, I can unlock the door. Right? And the other rule is that you only roll dice when zombies are present. Because otherwise, it's like, do you make dinner? Yes, of course you do. You're not going to roll dice.
You've got plenty of time.
Got plenty of time.
Yeah,
but when zombies are present, then you have to roll dice. And whenever you roll dice, you have D6s, and you add fear dice. And this is going to sound... This is very similar. I designed this back in 2007. And when I played the Alien RPG for the first time, I went, oh, I don't know if they read Shotgun Diaries or not, but they're drawn from the same well again, right? So whenever you roll fear dice, they're different colored dice, right? Because here's my alien dice.
Oh, wow.
And in my rules, you only succeed if you roll a 6. So you roll a bunch of D6s, and if you roll a 6, then you can say what happens next. And if not, then the GM does. And if you roll fear dice, if you use a 6 that rolls on the fear dice, you can only use that success to protect yourself. You can't... So the group runs into a locked door. There's zombies chasing them. The thief says, okay, I'm going to pick the lock, and the only success he rolls is on the fear die. So he says, I go through the door and no one else does. And again, that's big trope in zombie stuff, right? And that was essentially the game. And then the way I sold it was I got a bunch of composition books, like high school composition books. And I typed out the role-playing game, which is like 4 pages. It's nothing. And I shoved those pages in the book, and then I strapped them up, and then I distressed them. I like stomped on them and, all that kind of stuff. So when you bought the role-playing game, it was in a composition book. And the reason it's called the Shotgun Diaries is because every game session, you write down what happened to your character. Wow. And you can take one word from what you wrote down, or one word or one phrase, and that's a bonus die the next time you roll dice. So I am the mom survivor, but I learned how to use a shotgun. So now I can roll dice when using a shotgun. And that's how it worked. And then I also hid in it our diary entries from 6 different characters that were in the world. And so when people bought it, they got, you know, they got the killer's entry, or they got the soccer mom's entry, or they got the scientist's entry, or whatever. And then people started sharing them. People started like, I got this one, I got this one. And they're all linked. So that was like an example. And like I said, the game's like 4 pages long. It's nothing. But it's all you need. It's all you need to play, you know, zombie stuff. If you don't get a 6, the zombies eat you. Make a new character.
Wow.
Yeah. And how you make a character is, I'm the soccer mom. That's it. That's character creation. You pick an archetype and you're done. Because people tend to die a lot.
Like I would want to play that. You need like some ambient. Definitely would want some like ambientic, like sound effects, background music, or some ominous. Just yeah. Well, so like the books we do, we're really trying to lean into the immersion aspect when it comes to things like extras. We're kind of getting away from the standard everyone does, like dice and minis and all, and say what's actually going to add to. So like we do soundtracks with our books, like the Red Opera, the Black Ballad Festival. We have background soundtracks that people can play while they're playing the game. They sort of set the tone for each chapter. We're partnering with candle makers and tea makers and things, candles for this. We basically are really trying to hone in on that immersion side effect. And I feel like that would be terrifying. I'm like someone when it comes to zombie content is fascinated but terrified. Like it legitimately scares me, but I also do enjoy engaging with it. Like Left 4 Dead, those games, Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2 that's probably my favorite as far as like the immersion level of it.
Left 4 Dead was hugely influential on Shotgun Diaries. Huge. Because we used to play it, friends of mine and I, we used to play it all the time. And Left 4 Dead is such a unique video game.
Yeah.
In that...
Oh, I was such a... I'd be like, don't you leave me. You better not walk away.
Yes!
I swear to God, don't you dare walk away from me.
Yep.
Stay
That's
together.
exactly what it's about.
Absolutely stay together.
That was the stay together mechanic. I was like, I love that in Left 4 Dead, nobody is Master Chief.
Yes.
Right? From Halo. Nobody is, I am the one, you're not a vault hunter. Right? You're an accountant who has a submachine gun.
It also rewired my brain in the sense of my immediate reaction now when I hear weeping is not to go check on someone. It's like, oh no. Like,
what is really going on? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and talk about like candle scents, the like you would pick what like old sewer scent, and the only reason that came forward is that in my mind is that around the same time, John, remember I was working on Silent Hill 2, and we were building the maze for Halloween Horror Nights at Universal. And as a representative of the film company, I had to go through, work with, it was fun. I had to go through the maze and help them design it. And so they were like, okay, well, in this room, we're going to pump, these types of scents through the room. So and one of them was like literally you were in a bathroom. So you can imagine the scents that they were pumping through this. And it was disgusting. And then you go, the very next room is an outdoor area where you have the cotton candy scent is being pumped into the room. I'm just like, so scents are so powerful. Literally, yeah. And they're used like in all those higher end mazes and Halloween haunted houses. They definitely use scents to really jack up sound and scent. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you can get those scent warmer. Like if you want to change the feel of your house, you just get the little wax thing. You just put it on top of the little scent warmer holder and let it go.
I'm so glad you brought up Left 4 Dead because it's a really good example of a video game that utilizes the principles of game design as mind control. Because if nobody's ever played Left 4 Dead before, the game, it's an older game, it's a fantastic game, and it's zombie survival where you have 4 players, and it's 4, that's it, that's the most you can play, is 4 players, and the goal of the game is to move from point A on the map to point B. And the only points you score is how far you get. Did you get 80% of the way? Did you get 70%? That's the only score you get. You get no score for killing zombies. You get no score for finding things. You get no, like, nothing. It's the only thing you get points for. And the game's AI reacts to the way that you play. So if you're like looking around and looking for things, it will send zombies at you. So if you're screwing around and you're wasting time, it will send stuff at you. And to push you and push you and push you. And then the other thing that it does is that if you run out of hit points, you're down and there's nothing you can do. Somebody else has to stand over you and hold X to get you back up for 15 seconds.
The longest 15 seconds in the world.
15 seconds of your life. Right?
I used to think in Counter-Strike, the time for if you were trying to defuse the bomb was the longest couple seconds of your life. But yeah, that sounds terrible.
And then there are special zombies that are on the other side that another team of 4 can play. And what they do is they isolate you. They like there's one that has a big tentacle tongue that grabs you and slowly squeezes you to death. And there's nothing you can do. There's no button combination. There's that's it. You're stuck. You're done. If nobody helps you, you are dead. So the whole game is about how do you, and the reason it's called Left 4 Dead is because by the time that you get to point B, everyone is beat to shit. Everyone is just like beat up, and one person falls down. Do you go back those 10 feet and help them? And that, and on paper, it's like, oh, that's intriguing. In the game, it is so intense. It is so intense. And I got a reputation in the Left 4 Dead community for being the guy who will go back. I'll tell the team, I was like, I don't care what the situation is, I will come back for you. No questions asked. I will never shut the door on you, ever. And there was one circumstance where one of the guys got downed, and he was literally right outside the door of the safe house. And I was inside, and he fell just as I closed the door. But he's not dead yet, so the game isn't over. And the guy was on the outside. He was going, John Wick, don't you come back out. Don't you come back out here to get me. And I ran inside. I healed myself. I gave myself the adrenaline kit. I got the grenade launcher, and I walked out, and I blew the hell out of the smoker, and I healed him really quick and got him up, and we got inside. And he was like, friend request. Yes. But that's a really good example of game design can change how players play and the decisions that they make if you reward them for it, and if you type thing. And that friend request was great. It was just great positive feedback.
I wonder about that for myself, because I think one of the things I love about if you've got good game design is you're talking about what do you reward to push people, is what is that memorable collaborative storytelling that you tell. If you've got something that rewards people for supporting each other, for succeeding as a group. Because I remember there was one game I played where the objective, it was a zombie survival game, tabletop, and your goal is to survive. And we had 6 players at the table, and 5 of us were trying to get to the exit. And we had one person who kept like, I want to search, I want to find a better weapon. And he ended up causing us to lose the scenario because he would refuse to, play as a part of the group. And this was a, community game group that would meet, every once a month or so, twice a month. And after that, a lot of people just started refusing to play, cooperative or group games or any tabletop games with this guy, because he would play so selfishly that it would hurt everyone else at the table.
Yeah.
And that, one of the things I guess I like about the freedom to choose to do that is if there are no bad choices, it also means there are no good choices.
Yeah. And that's a part of game design too. Dave Williams, who designed the L5R card game, said game design is about presenting players with bad choices. And you just got to pick the best choice, whatever that is, if it even exists. And screenwriting is the same way. You put your characters into situations that you have no idea if they can get out, and then you figure it out. But yeah, it's bad. It's about mitigating bad decisions.
And that's what's interesting, because game design has multiple levels, right? So a lot of what we've been talking about is the game design for individual choices, the character choices, the player choices. But there's another layer of game design, which is to reinforce the world setting, right? And I talk a lot about that, as a developer of intellectual properties. But in the games, and John introduced me several months ago to a game called Pendragon, and it literally was, I think, one of the best games that every decision you make, like all aspects of your character, really guide you into solidifying the atmosphere and the world setting. So I mean, and your choices, both the choices of your character and choices you play in the game, also help reinforce the world setting. So you always feel fully immersed in that Pendragon world setting, because it's all encompassing. But I didn't feel forced. It was just all very natural. And I don't know, I've only played it a couple of times, and I was just amazed by it. So maybe John can explain a little bit more about, or anyone that's played the game can explain more on how that works, how that, what are the mechanics of that game that help do that.
I do have to ask, just on the name alone, is it an Arthurian game?
Yep.
Okay.
It is the King Arthur Pendragon role-playing game. Pat, did you want to say something about Pendragon?
Not about Pendragon specifically, but Neal, something you're touching, it kind of ties a lot of the things we've talked about together, as far as if this is something, listener, that you don't have a lot of experience in and you want to get into it, or if you are someone who is very interested in becoming a GM, and you're trying to figure out, how do I do this? What's the right system for me? How do I be good at this? Just got to do it. It's practice. You're going to get, the only way to get good at something is to suck at it first for a little while. Yeah. And then you suck less and less and less until you start doing really well at it. But we've talked about themes of like choice and the player agency and the world building. And I had this, what's funny, as far as, I think some people will get in their heads about GMing, and I have to create this awesome storyline and map it all out. It's like, don't do that. You're writing a book. Don't write a novel. This is not a novel. This is not a novel. This is, if you want to create an engaging experience, that the narrative will come. It's the choice factor, and the world building is, the player choice has to matter. It has to have weight. It has to affect the world around them, and change the story. Frankly, I've had to, John, I'm sure you've, more times than you can count, have had to change what you thought was going to happen in the narrative based on player choice, and that helps flesh out the world too and affect the world around them for that world building.
I said this on a somebody else's GM advice YouTube channel when I was getting interviewed, and I got these shocked looks from everybody, because I thought I had done something wrong, because my ADHD kicked in, and I was like, oh my god, I did something wrong. And I said, the GM's job is not to tell the players a story. The GM's job is to help the players tell their characters' stories.
Correct.
I have, when I run a game, I have a little mantra about, you are the author of your character. You get to say what happens to your character. If I say something that happens to your character, I will bribe you in some way. I will offer you, a thing, and I'll say, hey, does your character fail here? If they do, I will, this thing will happen later, or you'll get this mechanical bonus on your next roll, or, whatever. But you're the author of your character, and you get to say what happens next. And I agree with you 100%. It's the, too often, the antagonistic GM cliche, I'm here to tell a story. I hate the fact that in White Wolf games it's called the storyteller. I hate that so much, because that's like the antithesis of what you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be helping the players tell their character stories. And the way that you do that is you look at their character sheets, and they will show you what they want. Like, I'm going to play a thief. okay, clearly this character wants to do stealthy, sneaky, thiefy things. It's just that simple. Right? So what am I going to do to get, what things am I going to put in this player's, say, hey, do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want this? And I take a spaghetti on the wall approach. I'm like, what are these things that you want? And I will give them all of these different things, and then they will pick them. And I'll go, excellent. Or, the best role-playing games will put it on their character sheet and say, I have a background, because I have a background on my character sheet that says, I'm looking for the man who killed my father. Thank you. I know exactly what to do.
And he
right?
had six fingers.
What's that?
And he
6
had
fingers on
6
his left
fingers.
hand.
His 6 fingers on his left hand. Yeah. He has a thing that's talking on his hand, and he wants to deal with it.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. You've done my job for me.
Out of that, I guess I'm kind of curious before we run out of time. This is, Brandon, we've had some talks about this, like I would love if we could find a way to have something in the VHD universe, just because, I personally feel nobody could play D because it's an immortal demigod character. I got stabbed and I resurrected, and
Right.
there's no risk for him in so many ways. But the D stories do show the weight of his choices. No matter how the world comes at him, he's always choosing to try and protect the weak, defend those who really can't defend themselves, and he doesn't really get much out of it. But what do you think, as our resident writer, from the storytelling and adaptive perspective, on all the ancillary parts of the world? It describes people who specialize in werewolf hunting, or the soldiers who defend from the general threat. Like how could we tell their stories? It sets something up that lets people live in the frontier, which I will personally say I do not want to live in the frontier. That terrifies me. I like my air conditioning, my no monsters, walking to the kitchen for clean water to make myself tea. I am all for that.
Well, quickly, there's two ways I can answer that. First, you can look at what the Marvel RPGs did with characters like Thor or Silver Surfer or any cosmic level being. You may not be able to hurt them, but when they fail, there will be catastrophic consequences for the surrounding world or the inner circle. So that's one way you could. I'm not saying you can't play D. I wouldn't mind playing D, but if he fails, then everything goes to hell, and that is the actual fail. Like you just everyone dies and you lose, right? Or or the other way to do it is looking at I've written Judge Dredd, right? Now Judge Dredd is not supposed to be a good guy. He's not supposed to be the hero. He's only a tool of fascism in Mega City 1. So you have to be careful how you write him, right? And when I did write Judge Dredd, I had a whole world of situations around him that he was just in, but he wasn't directly impacting it. It's the other people, like other people in Mega City 1 who are always basically suffering because of the weight of the government, right? Then there's another way to look at it, I should say a third way. Like you look at an episode of A-Team or Knight Rider or any of those procedurals from the 80s, which I feel, no, really, it's like Michael Knight comes into the town and he solves the problem. Neither Michael nor Kit change, but they fix the world, right? So even though these people are mortal or so-called mortal, and Michael Knight can be killed and hurt, I feel that there's a way to write a D RPG scenario where if you do want to play D, you can, but your choices are going to be heavily weighted compared to, let's say, one of the mutant hero types or one of the humans with special weapons or abilities. Whereas if D fails, everything falls apart. And then if one of the humans fail, because D is in the scenario, he's buffered. There's a buff because you're around D. Maybe it's a plus something for luck or plus something for a dexterity. There's something that you get being around D. And I think that's the best way to do it if you're going to design a campaign around him. In my opinion.
It's a really interesting concept. I ran a Viking inspired or Viking themed Dungeons and Dragons game, and when I say that, very loosely with the rules, but and the most impactful part of the encounter there was that they were on the run and they went into a village and they ended up causing the death of the entire village.
Right.
Because they chose to go to the village as opposed to like go through the forest and be on their own. They were
It's the
selfish.
consequence.
They made a selfish choice by going into town, and that resulted in that town being burnt to the ground. And to them, after a 3-year story arc, to them that relatively early on in the story was the thing that players said they remembered the most. So I love that idea. I hadn't even thought about that angle from a D perspective. Yeah.
Are you guys familiar with Mork Borg?
No.
Okay. So Mork Borg doesn't look like any role-playing game you've ever seen before. This is what Mork Borg looks like.
Wow.
Right? Every page is there's no templates. Every page is its own thing. It is a D&D style game. But it is Patrick, is it from Sweden?
Yes.
Bjorkberg,
Or
right?
Scandinavia, somewhere. Yeah.
It's a post-apocalyptic end of the world fantasy role-playing game.
Shout out to Ian behind the scenes for confirming. Yes, Sweden. I saw that in chat.
There is a doomsday clock in the game for when the world ends.
Wow.
And player actions will either pull the clock back or push it forward.
Right.
And I wish I could find the page, but when the world ends, there's a whole page about when the world ends, and it says, "The world has ended, you have failed, burn the book."
Holy shit. Wow.
Yeah.
Right? So I bring this up because of Vampire Hunter D. If Vampire Hunter D, if D fails, the world is over.
Right.
Right? Make it a mechanic.
Wow.
Make it a mechanic. Because then it's real. So you can play Vampire Hunters. Because who knows? Maybe there's other Vampire Hunters that are in the world that are like D, but not D. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
And if they fail, like, the world ends. People, I get really hung up on the don't let your characters get too powerful. I'm like, bull, right? You want to let your here's an infinity stone.
Yeah.
Wow.
Have fun.
I'm all for that too. Like, I'm not afraid of that because I can always scale up on my end too. And I don't understand why GMs will like limit that or.
But I mean, it goes back to Spidey. With great power comes great responsibility.
Right.
And it's in scale. So, the greater power you have, the greater the fallout if you fail.
If Spider-Man fails, he loses his girlfriend.
Do you remember Bruce Almighty? And he takes the line from the movie of I could lasso the moon and pull it close for you for this romantic thing. And that's how he uses God's power. And on the news, there's reports of mass flooding because of unusual lunar activity. So his selfish action with God's powers ended up devastating whole swaths of things that he's like, no.
I'm really intrigued with the idea of losing in a role-playing game. Winning, not so much. Winning is when, did everybody have fun? Great, we're done, right? But if there is, like in Morkborg, and Call of Cthulhu has it a little bit too. There's Call of Cthulhu scenarios where if you lose, the Cthulhu wakes up and eats the world, right? I'm very intrigued with the idea of a role-playing game that has a losing condition. That if you do not succeed in this, the consequences are the game is over. Make new characters.
Wow.
Right? And I think a Vampire Hunter D, if you want to play characters like D, that has to be a real rule in the game. Yeah. And the players have to agree to it. It's like, if we screw up, we lose.
Yeah, and there's a video game called Banner Saga. that basically the whole game you're fighting against the the destruction of the world, and if you fail, the world ends. So I mean, I think that's a really really interesting take.
What were you gonna say, Pat?
Oh, I was just saying, to kind of bringing it all home, that I think Vampire D would be a very rich playground for a TTRPG adaptation. I think there's a lot of fun ways to play with it, and you could have, it's not D specifically, but be a D-like character. Dampier, I believe he's called in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have people be a human, a Dampier, even a vampire who's maybe going against their own kind, and then you would spec out pros and cons to each. Like if you're only a human, maybe you get more gear, you get better stuff.
Well, and also you can measure it by the consequences of your actions. Like if you're Spider-Man, the consequences of your actions are you lose your girlfriend. Now, one of the keys to being a great GM is 2 steps. Make your players fall in love with things that don't exist. And then step 2, put them in peril. That's the key to being a good GM. It's the same thing with TV shows and movies and everything. We fall in love with things that aren't real, and then we feel they get in trouble, and so we feel like, we feel the peril, right? It's the same thing.
Did John actually die?
What's that?
Did John, Snow, did Jon Snow actually die?
died.
Was the Lord Commander truly murdered? So, yeah.
Yeah, when Neal and I were pitching Shotgun Diaries as a TV show, and people would ask us, why is your show different from The Walking Dead? And I said, if a character dies in The Walking Dead, do you care? No, because they're all awful people, right? When I kill a character on my show, you're going to cry for a week. That's the difference, is because our show is about hope, and we're going to make it if we stick together, and their show is about, oh, look how awful the human race is. We should all die, which is why I don't like The Walking Dead, but that's me.
Fair.
My depression is bad enough. I don't need The Walking Dead.
Yeah, right.
Oh, well. Well, folks, this is a discussion I wish we could keep going and going and going on, but we've run out of time on our schedules for this one. As I'm sure for an audience or ourselves, we can say this is something we could probably get into for way too many hours for our love of this stuff. So this is game design and the love of storytelling through I will call it interactive, collaborative storytelling in universe settings. I think it's something we'll visit again. But for everyone, thank you all for joining us. Thank you, John and Pat, for making time out of your day to join us for this. And for all of you out there listening or watching, thank you. Have a wonderful day and happy hunting. We'll see you next time for whatever we talk about next on Lefty Speaks.
Thank you for listening to Lefty Speaks, the official Vampire Hunter D podcast, hosted by Brandon Easton, Neal Fischer, and Scott McLean. This podcast is created by Unified Pictures and 9 Realms. Narration by Evallen-Muller. Recording and editing by 9 Realms. Produced by Scott McLean and Ian E. Muller. Based on the works created by Hideyuki Kikuchi. Happy hunting.